Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Big League Breakdowns. This is episode 8 and our AL and NL Central previews for the 2024 season. My name is Tyler, aka Cheege. With me today, Will, John, and Bobby, as always. Boys, we had I don't want to say tame episode last week. That's not the right word, but we thought it was going to be explosive. It was not. I have a feeling this is going to change tonight. I'm just putting that out there in the world.
You're
I don't
putting a
know.
lot of
Something
pressure on us
seems
there, Tyler.
well. I just feel like there's going to be some opinions in here. And by the way, it's not about the team on my shirt, the Pirates. Although I am a Pirates fan, I think it's actually going to be about some other things. But yeah, we will get into it. Any words before we hop into this one, or are we just going straight into this?
I
Well,
honestly will be shocked if any of our predictions are really the same because for both divisions, I feel like it could be a coin toss how a lot of it could go.
Yeah,
I gotta be honest. I think a lot of our predictions are going to be the same, especially for a certain division
I don't
that we're going
think
to talk
so.
about today.
I really don't think so. Dude, I really legitimately struggled. I struggled more with the actually putting the NL Central together than I did the AL Central. But man, this is
I
like
just,
two divisions of mediocrity mediocrity that's killing us because it is really hard to predict.
I was about to say that myself. I was about to say, yeah, this is the land of mediocrity, and we'll see how it
What did I
goes.
say? Mediocrity? Mediocrity. Yeah, I can't
You
talk.
struggled
Okay.
there. You slurred.
Whatever the hell
But
it was wrong. I don't know what it was, but it
wrong.
was indeed wrong.
Out of all
this
things,
is why John should be the
spelling in
host.
English, not. Oh yeah, right. Not my forte. Let's
Your
get into
contract
it,
is
though.
up at the end of the year. Just saying.
Well,
It's up before the
good thing I'm
start of the
getting traded
season.
to a different podcast.
Let's start with the AL Central, and this one we are going to start from the top to the bottom
We're gonna
with
stop.
how
Okay.
teams finished. Don't get me started. With how the teams finished
2
last year,
minutes
going
in,
from the
jeez.
Twins, the Tigers, the Guardians, the White Sox, and the Royals. Twins won the division last year at 87 wins. They beat Toronto in the wild card game, but then did lose to Houston in the ALDS. And then all these other teams, Tigers 78 and 84, Guardians 76 and 86, White Sox and Royals, their records over 100 losses, all missed the playoffs. We start with the Twins, who this has been their division for the last couple of years. They really haven't had that much contention.
It's been a division by
And
default.
yeah, I mean, look, they really haven't had much in the last few years. Does anything change? Will, I'll start with you as we kind of get into their overview to start the season.
The Twins are a team that I feel are too complacent with what they have. Sure, their team compared to the rest of their division is probably the best, though it's not that many years ago that the team did struggle, getting only 500 by the end of the year, and the Guardians won the division. The team bounced back last year with 87 wins, but in this offseason, after getting in the postseason last year and breaking their losing streak in the playoffs, especially, you would think that they would try to get the extra player to help make them or bring them up to par with the other American League teams. But I feel like right now they're assembling their team with the mindset of, hey, we have a lot of young guys we like. We think it's enough to take the division. But outside of that, I don't see them going anywhere in the postseason. So I just got to scratch my head a little bit at the subtractions that happened and the very minimal additions they did and just wonder, are they way too complacent and will it bite them in the butt if the Guardians or even a team like the Tigers surprise and all of a sudden the Twins are battling for a playoff spot that they could have easily gotten with just maybe one signing of a pitcher?
I totally agree with the complacent part of it. You look at a team that lost Sonny Gray this offseason, obviously tremendous loss with how he played last year. Kenta Maeda, they trade Jorge Polanco out to Seattle. Amelia Pagan also goes, and Jorge Lopez in the bullpen. They add Anthony DeSclafani and Carlos Santana, but man, like as you said, the complacency of them not really wanting to go out there and sign players or add another starting pitcher, I think is really going to hurt them. I mean, Sonny Gray last year, I believe he was second in Cy Young voting. I believe if I'm correct about that, 2.79 ERA last year was third in the MLB, and just a guy that coming off of a season like that seems very hard to replace. And to be honest, they really haven't. I mean, you're looking at a rotation right now, at least a projected rotation right now, if I can bring them up. Pablo Sanchez, which I do really like Pablo Sanchez. I think he can be an ace for them. DeSclafani
Pablo Lopez?
Pablo, what did I say?
Sanchez.
You said his cousin.
Did I say Pablo Sanchez?
Is Pablo Sanchez the backyard baseball
Wow.
player?
Yeah, that absolutely is.
The legend.
Oh my
It's
god!
brought
that's
I
a
mean,
whole
to be
other
fair,
discussion.
to be fair,
Legend of Pablo
if-
Sanchez.
if they had
Not
him,
every
all the problems
Pablo
go
has the
away.
last name of Sanchez, Tyler.
Look, and that
Oh
was
my
a
God.
mistake on my part. Pablo Lopez, though, I do think is going to be a nice ace for them. They get DeSclafani,
This is what
Joe
we get
Ryan.
for having the show on a Monday.
Yeah, a long week last week too. Joe Ryan, Bailey Uber. But again, like Will said, I just think they got a little bit complacent in the offseason. That's our man. Again, if they had him, they
There's
would
our
win the
guy.
league.
That's a
There's-
different
They
story.
they may go undefeated.
There's the
to be
man, the
honest
myth,
with
the
you.
legend, Pablo Sanchez. And his little belly right there. T-shirt
John,
doesn't fit all the way. Backwards cap. It doesn't matter.
he like
Pablo
John.
Sanchez hitting dongs
We,
for the Twins.
Dude, I'm telling you, man. He whoa, something almost slipped there. Shohei Ohtani Part 2.
Whoa.
All I'm saying. John, I'll now go to you after that BS. What are your thoughts on the Twins coming into this season?
My thoughts are it's going to be similar to my thoughts for the rest of this division. They're very mediocre. I mean, Pablo Lopez, Tyler, is projected to be their best pitcher with 3.63 ERA. When you look at, just overall, I think pitching is going to really decide things here in this division and arguably in the NL as well. I think that's what's going to set teams apart. The Twins, they're just the kings of mediocrity. And honestly, when it comes down to it, I do think I got to agree with Vegas here as far as them being the favorites. But, these whole division, these two divisions are really they're a toss up. They really are. You could pick any team.
I agree, and I do think the Twins probably are the favorites still, based on a lot of things. But I'm telling you, man, this rotation really scares me. If they want to be that playoff team again, obviously the team that comes out of the Central, and they are lucky in the sense that their division isn't stacked like other divisions, but these teams are getting better, and I think that
Are they though?
a lot. I do think I
are.
legitimately believe, yes. I think that the division is getting better, and to not have another guy in there. I mean, we talked about this time and time again, but all these free agent pitchers that were out there, like you would love to add another guy into that spot. Another key thing for me with this lineup is they have a lot of young guys, and I think it's going to they have a lot of young guys in the sense that they're going to kind of make or break, I think, what's happening. The two names I'm kind of bringing up are Edouard Julien and Royce Lewis, two like excellent prospects and guys that are starting to get their feet, but those are positions that they're coming in and filling now. Jorge Polanco, again, as we said, not there anymore as well. I mean, Will, what do you kind of make of those types of guys that they're just going to need to step up this season?
So getting rid of Jorge Polanco kind of got that roadblock out of the way to let Julian slip in and be the everyday second baseman because he was kind of roadblock there. Right now, the real question I have with the lineup, as I feel like we have with this team every year, is what's going to be the health of Byron Buxton. They always seem to have a lot of A lot of demand, I feel like, with him defensively, offensively, to be one of their it guys. And he always seems to put in under 100 games a season with some type of leg injury or whatever. And I feel like this year he's still slated to probably be the center fielder. They have a plethora of potential first basemen or outfielders that most likely there will be a rotation in and out of players like Kirilov, Jose Miranda. You have Carlos Santana now at first base. So Buxton will need to be the outfielder, and in doing so, I have to wonder if the health will be an issue again. And Carlos Correa, I also do not necessarily believe that offensively he is the guy that maybe he showed at times in Houston. I do think he can be a leader in the clubhouse when they do make the postseason because he was a part of that run in Houston. But they will need some form combination of the young guys to step up alongside Julian and lose this slate their spot in the lineup if they want to get anywhere in the postseason, because it looks like they're relying heavily on home run power this year and less on pitching. But last year, the team did have one of the best ERAs in baseball. So I guess they figure the subtractions aren't going to hurt the ERAs that much.
Yeah, I mean, fifth best team ERA last season, and you kind of hope that translates. But the problem is, you're losing your big horse in Sonny Gray, and that makes it tough. Now they were third in home runs last year too, so it's kind of one of those lineups that has that pop. Like, what are you going to get? And it's funny because you look at their lineup, and I don't know. To me, it wouldn't feel that way, to be honest. But again, they were in that direction. But yeah, Julian, a really, really talented hitter that I think is going to get better. Had a 381 on base last year, and 408 plate appearances, which did leave the team. And then Royce Lewis, he had a really good 2023 for the time that he played.
Mhm.
He did lead the team in batting average at over 300. He only had 239 plate appearances though. But he had 15 home runs. So another guy that has pop, and I think they're going to have to step up. The other question for me with this team, maybe a little less concerning, but what are they going to do with that third outfield spot? Because you have Buxton out there, you have Kepler, and then I think the guy that they have slotted in now is Wallner, I believe, is the guy that they have in left field. I wonder if they go out and get a guy like I know they just had him, but re-sign Michael A. Taylor, because it just seems like they might need some depth there, if anything. And then obviously if he gets plugged in, that could be good for them. But
we'll
They
have
do
to
have
see
Margot. They
how
got
it
Margot
shakes
in the
out.
trade with the Dodgers.
Oh yeah, true. I forgot about that.
We will have to see how it does shake out on the depth aspect of it, because their number 2 and number 3 prospects in their system are also outfielders. So I mean, that could also be a plug and play situation as well when it comes to the Twins. And honestly, my issue with the Twins is really they're a coin flip of which way are they going to fall? Are they going to be bad or are they going to be good? And I think that in a way that's kind of playing with fire. You need to really make a stand here. Are you going to be a good team or a bad team here? And obviously you want to be a good team. You don't want to be a bad team. I think that goes without saying. But when you look at the Twins just in general, they're a real coin flip team, and I do think just in general you have to look at it like this. What do you want to do? How do you want to bounce back? Do you want to get better, or do you want to just rely on the rest of your division being bad?
Well, and that kind of goes with the complacency. Again, one of the lineups that, as we kind of already talked about with the home runs and stuff, bottom 10 team batting average last year, and the higher strikeout rate. So it's one of those lineups that it's kind of boom or bust. And
Well, that tends to happen
again,
with home run hitting teams.
yeah,
When that's your only
again,
weapon, that tends to happen.
it's just weird. You look at that lineup, and it kind of is strange that that's the case. Let us move on to the Tigers, though. We spent a little bit a time on the Twins there. We'll continue to move on. Tigers, I really like their offseason acquisitions. They add Kenta Maeda. They add Jack Flaherty, Cantona, Gio Urshela, Chafin, and Shelby Miller to the bullpen. They lose Erod, which I do think that is a pretty potent blow, but and obviously Miguel Cabrera, one of the greatest, well, probably the greatest Tiger of all time, in my opinion, gone as well. But regardless, the Tigers.
You ever heard of the guy Ty Cobb here?
I'm talking about not from 1754, but regardless,
I'm just
Fight
saying.
everyone you would see.
Yeah, I was about to say. I'm just saying.
When he was playing against janitors and whatever. Regardless, I think the Tigers had, I don't want to say a surprising record end of the season, but they end only a couple games back of 500. And I think this team has a lot of potential as well. And there is some people that are picking them to really contend with the Twins.
They are the team that I think are the biggest thorn in the Twins side, where if the Twins do falter this year, the Tigers could be the team that slip in. In 2021, it looked like the Tigers were then going to take their jump. After the COVID season, they went 77 and 85, and things were looking good for the young core to slip in 22, but they took a major step back, going 66 and 96, and really just had an absolutely horrendous offense that year. But last year, especially with Spencer Torkelson, Kerry Carpenter, and Riley Green, even though they didn't get a full year out of Green, took really big strides offensively. And this year, while sure they are losing Eduardo Rodriguez as he signed with the Diamondbacks, they should be getting Casey Mize back. Tarek Skubal should be come back too, and Skubal looks really good. And I like the veteran pitchers they've surrounded them with. That I do think the team is ready to finally contend again in the division. And is potentially, I do think, win the division. I think it also is a big factor offensively to see is what they get out of Colt Keith, the prospect.
Yes,
But they signed to like a 6-year extension prior, or in the offseason, I should say. Because if he can step up and be another young guy that takes a big stride, then I think their offense is really set, regardless of the type of player that Javier Baez has turned into. Yeah, they made a lot of additions and not too many subtractions.
I gotta think that I really am curious as to what Javier Baez is going to be. What he's turned into has not been good. When it comes to the Tigers, you got to look at Torkelson here, and you got to look at him as their workhorse. So you got to. I think they sink or swim with Torkelson on this front, just like they did with Cabrera for a long time.
I don't think that's the case at all. You have a lot of young options now that Torkelson, while he will be your main power guy, sure, he's probably the one you can rely on to get 30 home runs, hopefully consistently year after year, and I believe he hit 31 last year. They have a fairly well-rounded young core in the lineup of Riley Green, Kerry Carpenter, Jake Rogers, Colt Keith, was it Akil Baddoo as another outfield option, Parker Meadows, and then they brought in Gio Urshela and Mark Canha to help fill out the veteran presence. So I think they have a good balance of veteran players and young players, whereas they don't need to necessarily rely on Torkelson. It's not like he was the one guy that stood out among the others last year. Now, if like a handful of those 4 or 5 that I said take another step back, then you're going to have to wonder what's going on with the Tigers, because they'll have years where they take a stride forward, years where they'll take a stride back. But even if Torkelson were to slip like he did in 2022, I feel fairly confident that behind some of the other guys they have in the lineup, they could still very much be contending in that division.
So Torkelson had a really good second half last season, and I think now you're looking for him to stay where he is at least, or take that next big step. As you said, 31 home runs last year, 94 RBIs, had 34 doubles as well, which led the team by 11. So this guy has pop, and we're seeing that. Obviously, tough times his first season, but has started to turn things around now. You mentioned Riley Green. I think he's another guy that can take that next step and really propel this team. As you said, I think Riley Green and Torkelson, depending on their play is really how well the Tigers are going to be. These are two guys that need to be catalysts for them. You're talking about high end prospects for years. Riley Green was the 5th overall pick. Torkelson was the 1, correct? Or am I wrong on that in his draft class? I think
I'm
I
not
want to say he
positive.
was the 1. Regardless, you're getting top picks, and I think these guys need to step up. You mentioned Colt Keith. He's an interesting kind of story because this is a guy, I think he's only like 22 years old, had a 325 average in AA in 2023, gets moved up to AAA, bats 287 and 301 plate appearances. So this guy has the numbers to be able to step into the MLB and make a difference. And I think he's going to be able to do that. Also, 27 home runs between both AA and AAA last year. Like, that's going to play as well. So you just got to see how that translates. And then Casey Mize is interesting because I think that's also another player that you kind of might need to depend on. So you have Skubal, which I think he's really good. I think he's going to continue to be kind of their top and one of their top end guys. Maeda and Flaherty, you get that veteran presence, as you said. They can kind of come in and I don't want to say replace the production of Erod, but they can kind of be around that. And then you kind of have some questions around your 4-5. If Casey Mize can come in, now he's missed the last essentially 2 seasons. He missed most of 2022 and all of 2023. If he can come in and start to get things rolling, like there was, first overall pick in his draft class. So like obviously very high expectations, but can he be the guy that really steps up for them? I think they're really waiting on a few guys to break out to really, really send themselves up. But I do like what the Tigers have done. And yeah, with that, we'll move on to the Guardians because we do want to get on to our predictions. The Guardians, not much has really changed with them, to be honest. Like, not too many big additions or subtractions. You still have a solid rotation again with the Guardians and a lot of that same lineup. Will any thoughts really on the Guardians and if anything changes for them this season?
The biggest change for them is that hopefully their pitching will stay healthy this year. That was a huge factor last year, especially because they don't have really anything there offensively. I feel like it's Jose Ramirez, Josh Naylor, and that's about it. You might get some decent production from Andres Jimenez or Steven Kwan, but they're very much a pitching first team. And they lost Tristan McKenzie for pretty much almost like all of last year. So with him back coming off of a year in 22 where I believe his ERA was about 2.96. And then Tanner Bibby was had a very nice year last year with the team, and still Shane Bieber. That those 3 can help lead the team in their pitching staff, and he still got Emmanuel Clase, even though there were trade rumors with him in the offseason. Whether they really had any merit to them or not, I don't know. But this team is really going to ride on this pitching because I don't see, unless I guess someone else can really step up with Jose Ramirez and be an offensive force.
Yeah, I mean their pitching is definitely the most consistent thing here regarding them as a franchise in general. You gotta, when you look at Cleveland and what they are what they're offering batting average wise and what they're offering on base percentage wise, it's low 3s and then higher 2s. You don't really have anyone that's projected to bat over 300 in their lineup. So you got to look at their pitching as what is going to hold them together here.
Well, man, it's kind of crazy to look at the stats though, because Jose Ramirez is like a stud and has been for a while. But man, this guy has not that much help around him. So here's another team where their front office is kind of reluctant to do stuff. And here's my question with this team. Shane Bieber's on a contract year. I think it's more likely than not he gets traded, especially if the projections are right in saying that they're probably going to maybe they compete for their division. We'll see. Um, as you mentioned, Tanner Bybee, he came in and
Bibby.
had a really nice. I think it's Bybee. I'm pretty sure because I looked
Bibby, I've
this
always
up.
heard
I
Bibby.
believe you over me.
I actually specifically looked this up beforehand because I wasn't sure.
I'm gonna go with
because
Bybee, and I was
I
wrong.
think they also have a BD in their system. So lots happening. Regardless, he goes 10-4 last year with a 2.98 ERA and 142 innings. You got to hope for some more of that, but like Shane Bieber is definitely a big piece, a trade target, and again, I just don't. In my opinion, I don't see them competing for the division this year. What do you think happens with him? Because, funnily enough, a team like the Orioles for John, I think that could be a nice place for him. Because did we get the injury news for Kyle Bradish? Is he out long term?
No, not as of yet. We haven't gotten
Okay.
any update or anything like that regarding that. So far, he's actually been throwing. He hasn't been pitching,
Okay.
but he's been throwing from 60, 90, 90
Okay.
feet. So it's his progress is getting there, and they're obviously going to be careful with it because they don't want him to go down for Tommy John. But
Yeah.
when it comes to Bradish, there hasn't been honestly updates in a while.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of teams that are contenders that probably need that extra piece, and maybe an injury comes into play regardless. But yeah, I could see him moving somewhere. I guess to wrap up the Guardians, so second last in slugging percentage last year, and this is kind of what we talked about this team.
Mhm.
They do have some guys that can get on base, but they just don't really have the pop. They were also last in home runs by 27 home runs. It's a large disparity with them, and they really rely on their pitching. We'll see if it's as good as it was last year, but I don't know. I'm down on the Guardians. I will say that. Let's finish up with the Royals. Royals had a nice offseason. I think they had Michael Wacha. They had Seth Lugo, both coming over from the Padres, who had really good seasons. I mean, Michael Wacha was really good last year. Will Smith comes over, and Nick Anderson to help, and Hunter Renfroe. So you're starting to see the team like the Royals, who a lot of people have been talking up, also kind of maybe in contention for this division. They're very, very young, and I think maybe that holds them back. But I think kind of I don't know fully, but I feel like talking to you kind of behind the scenes, you're pretty high on them. It sounded like.
I like a lot the moves they did. I also think that they were better than the record show last year, and that was partially because their team ERA was so bad. I think offensively they were a lot better than what their record showed. I'd like to point out too first that if you're making predictions, you want to bet for the Royals to win the World Series this year, and that's because Will Smith, I believe it's the last 3 years, has been on the World Series team.
Yes,
So
I did see that.
therefore, go all in on the Royals because it's Will Smith's party. But like
Do you have
said,
that in your
I really
Vegas
like
odds
the
there,
addition
John?
of Wacha Lugo.
They are plus 1,500 on FanDuel and plus
for the World Series.
Yeah.
That
No,
seems
sorry,
like
15,000.
Maybe
Not
the
1,500.
division.
He got the
Oh, I was gonna
There's a
say,
zero.
I took
You
away
got the
a
Will
I
Smith
took away a
treatment and
zero.
dropped the zero.
I was gonna say, I know people are talking them up, but god damn, that's a little bit crazy. Hold on.
Plus 13,000 when it comes to DraftKings. So if this does happen, you get a good chunk of change back.
Mhm.
A little bit.
So, last year, to give you an idea about the Royals, batting average wise, they were 19th in baseball. Home run wise, they were in the bottom fifth, but was it runs scored? They were they were a little lower than I thought in the bottom 10th in baseball, but and I will admit that is the one thing that we'll see how that translates to this year. The pitching additions, what I was saying before, I agree with you. I really like the Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo additions. Both should give you mid upper threes ERAs. And putting them behind Cole Reagans and Brady Singer in that rotation actually gives you a very nice looking 1 through 4 in the young rotation. There may be a few question marks still with the bullpen. I do like James MacArthur, but offensively, they added Hunter Renfroe to go along with
Tanner
Salvador
Renfroe.
Perez, Bobby Witt Jr. And so I don't think it's a better lineup than their record showed last year. I still feel like putting them into contention right now is a jump, but I can see them making a jump similar to what the Pirates did last year and getting over that 70 win mark, where after this year, 2025, 2026, maybe then they finally are back into contention with the division. And I think the team definitely agrees with that since they've locked down Bobby Witt Jr. now for what, like 11 years was that extension, I think?
And young player, but man, deservedly so. You look at his numbers last year.
He
I
could
knew he
be
was
in
good.
the MVP talk for this year.
Yeah, because it's kind of crazy because like I knew he was good, but then you look at his numbers, like 30 home runs, 49 stolen bases, batted 276. Like he was a stud, and he's gonna get better because he's still
Yep.
young. Obviously, I don't know his exact age, but he was one of those guys that came up pretty young. So I agree. I think their 1 through 4 is sneaky good, and their starting rotation, like you said, you get Reagans, who was really good last year. He's young, so we'll see if he continues to grow. You know what you're getting with Waka and Lugo, and Brady Singer had a down year last year, but they also just sucked. So take that for I mean, since he's been there, they've kind of been pretty bad. But like, he was another guy that I thought for a while teams might call for him because I thought he was always very underrated.
Mhm.
So I do
Well,
like it. Okay.
I got a question for you. I got a question for you. I'm gonna talk over you, Tyler, on that end.
Fair enough.
You guys think that they're gonna jump 20 wins to get over?
Yes.
I do as well.
Okay.
I do too.
I have them.
I know.
we'll get
I
into
know
it in
that
a
they
second.
had injury struggles. I know they had, that they have a young team, but 20 wins.
I
Really?
will say this. I have them over 70 wins.
I do
And we'll
too.
get into that in a second. But yeah, again, young lineup. I know the numbers love Michael Garcia, and I think he'll continue to get
Mhm.
better. Vinny Pascantino, another nice player that's coming up. But again, you got Melendez, you got Kyle Isbell, who's still out there. Fermin behind the plate. Like it's still a young team. We'll see where they go. Last but not least, I don't really have much to say about these guys, to be honest. Chicago White Sox. I could see them
There isn't
really
much
being
to
in
say.
Yeah, look, I could see
The only
them
things you
being
can
in
really say
contention
about
for
the
the
White
worst record.
Sox, well, I agree with that, especially in the American League. But the only thing you really say about the White Sox is they're basically an example of a failed rebuild. They not even 2-3 years ago looked like they were a team that everyone was like, all right, they've got the young core together. They could be real contenders in the American League Central for years to come. And they're not in a situation right now where it's like they're an older team with young guys coming up to fill holes, and you just got to wait to see where these young guys develop. They are the young guys that failed to really make this team into playoff contenders. And now there's not really a group of young players, minor leagues, waiting to come up behind them. They're in a situation to trade now and rebuild and probably just enjoy last place and hopefully finishing in the top 5 for draft picks for next year.
I mean,
I would say
the
top
crazy
3, honestly.
the crazy thing
But
is
with the
they
lottery
won,
right now, you can't bet on anything. Now that it's
All
a
right,
lottery.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
which
All right, fair.
I love that. I love that addition, by the way.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at the White Sox. I mean, dude, they won the Central in 2021. Like how the mighty have fallen. You had a lot of guys that, as you said, had that potential, and they have not panned out like they would have wanted to. Look, you still have Luis Robert there. They still have Benintendi, but it's just a lot of guys that have failed potential, to be honest. And they lose a lot of people in the offseason. Tim Anderson's not there anymore. Grandal, Clevenger. They do add Mike Soroka, Paul DeYoung, Maldonado. I think Soroka's interesting. if he can stay on the field, this is a guy who showed so much promise with the Braves that maybe there's something there, but the injuries have just been brutal. But yeah, I mean, not much to say with these guys. I do think they're going to contend for one of the worst records in the league and the AL. I think with that, let's get into our predictions. I think this is going to get spicy. I do. Anybody particularly interested in starting first, or we're just going?
I
can go
if
first.
No one wants to take the gavel.
All right.
Please.
Screw you, John.
For this,
Hey, you didn't even ask
for
my
the
opinion
Central.
on either the Royals or the White Sox. So
Did I not? I apologize. But
No.
look, the White Sox was.
we
a
don't
given.
need
We're
his
gonna be-
jump
opinion.
in.
Sorry.
Because I'm the one that have been pro-Royals, and you're the one that really been anti-Royals.
You cut me off.
To me.
You cut me off before. Why can't you do it again? I mean, come on now.
Listen, I was trying to
6
be
months
nice.
on the contract, Tyler.
I didn't.
All right,
want
John,
to
then I'll
cut
throw
you
it back
off.
into your corner right now. Why do you not like the Royals as much as Tyler and me?
I don't like the Royals because honestly, I do think that you're right. I think that in a sense they are going to get better.
So you do like
I
them.
just don't think they're going to jump 20 wins. I really don't.
Man.
When it comes down to the Royals, I just don't see them jumping 20 wins, and that just comes down to it. The White Sox, you want to talk about complacency and resting on your laurels. I mean, it was almost like they thought, oh, we're the kings of the Central. We're going to be here forever. And then nothing happened. They got worse and worse. So in terms of the White Sox, I do want to say one thing. You were talking about trade chips earlier. Dylan Cease has probably got to be the most
He'll
appetizing
probably go.
trade chip come July, if he's not already,
agree.
on somebody else's radar and on somebody else's team before then. So, you got to look at it this way. The White Sox, they need a serious rebuild, and they need to do it right this time and not sign an old fart that is going to rest on his, Hall of Fame and World Series status like they did last time. So, yeah, that's all I got to say in terms of the White Sox.
All right, well, let's hear your predictions for the season.
All right. So for the American League Central, I have the Minnesota Twins winning the division with 87 wins. And then the Tigers coming in at second with 84 wins. Then I have the Guardians third with 80 wins, Royals fourth with 75, and the White Sox in last with 63.
Okay. So going somewhat chalk there with the Twins at the top. John, I'll go to you next. What are your predictions for the season?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for letting me
I
go
know.
second.
I'm so kind. I'm so kind.
I'm glad you're letting me get my bleep in here.
Yes, of course.
I do think that the Twins are really just the I think they're the team beat in this division. But that's without better wording in the sense because it's a mediocre division. So it's really a toss up of who just happens to get a playoff spot, not necessarily who deserves a playoff spot. The Tigers, they could compete, but I don't see them winning the division. I see them coming in second here. I think the Royals could honestly be better than the Guardians, but I'm going to go safe and say that the Guardians are third place, and the Royals, I think, are going to have like 66 wins at the most, and then honestly, the White Sox I could see finishing below 60 in the overall.
The only thing I'll say to your point about the Royals, by the way, you're saying like jumping 20 wins is hard. I agree, but when you get 56 wins, it makes it a lot easier. Like they sucked last year. And,
yeah, but
like,
I don't think they're going to jump 20 wins. I'm not going to go out on a limb and predict that.
It could be ambitious, but I'm just saying like that would be my only thing with them is like,
listen,
I
just went through a rebuild with my team. I didn't project. I didn't not project or predict the Orioles to jump 20 wins or more.
You also
in the last couple of seasons. So
you're pessimistic about your Birds until suddenly
I
was like, oh look, a trophy's around the corner.
I mean, they also play
yeah.
in the AL East. A lot different than the AL Central. Just putting that out
Yeah,
there. Like,
seriously.
the competition's a little bit different. Um,
Yeah.
so I'll do my predictions. Well, we're somewhat similar in our projections for win totals here. I'll start from the bottom up. I have the White Sox at 62 and 100. Again, not much I can really say about them. I just think that they're a disappointment. I do like John's point though. I think Dylan Cease, if he's having a good season, will be on probably like the number one radar of most teams. For a nice piece to get a starting pitcher. I do have the
Hey, Bobby,
Royals in
get your facts
fourth.
straight. The new management just got here after.
I didn't even see what he said on this one. I do have the Royals in fourth, but I have them at 74 wins. How many did you have them at, Will? 72?
I had the Royals at 75.
75. So I have them at 74. I have the Guardians in third at 77. I think they take a step back. I'm not too impressed with their lineup.
That
To
was
be
a good
honest
win
with
loss
you.
last year.
And my big take on this one is I do have the Tigers winning the division. I have the Tigers going 87
Whoa.
and 75. It'll be their first division title in 10 years, and I have the Twins going 85 and 77 and not getting a wild card spot. I really, really like what the Tigers are building. It's really for the Twins. I am really scared about their rotation. I think, again, Pablo Lopez will be fine. Like, he's going to be their ace, but I do have questions about those others.
Excuse you.
And yeah, I just like what the Tigers have done. I really do. I'm drinking from the Kool-Aid. I know a lot of people have been talking up the Tigers, but I legitimately think that if Riley Green and Torkelson, if they're continuing to get better as they have over the past two seasons, and in Torkelson's case, like I do think they will continue to get better and the team will get better. And I do think that they win the division this year. And yeah, I mean, Twins 85 wins, nothing to scuff at, I guess, but I just do not see them getting a wild card spot with the AL East teams being as good as they are. So that is probably my hot take of the episode. But yes, I do.
I don't
like
agree
the
with
Tigers
you on
this year.
that one. I just don't think the Tigers are ready. I just don't think that they're ready to.
It's
to
about
make
when
that
you
jump.
think the young guys will take that leap of faith. So
Yeah.
I don't have them doing the 10 win jump, but I do see that since the young guys took that offensive jump out of or off of the bad 2022 year, that they are primed now that you're getting a lot of those guys like Green, hopefully, and Carpenter for an entire full season. That now they're gonna give you even
Yeah.
better production than the glimpse you got last year. And the Twins, again, last year they won 87 wins. The year before that, they won 78 when they were believed to be the favorites. And the year before that, they won 73 at the bottom of the division. So they are a team that have definitely roller coastered up and down with their production. So I don't think it's too far off to see the Twins collapsing. The only difference I'd really say with what you said in general with your predictions, Tyler, to what I thought, is that for the Guardians, I do see their pitching staff being back at full health will help them.
Yeah.
Even though they're basically running back the same team, all in all. If Bybee and McKenzie both can do what they've done within the last couple years, Bieber doesn't need to be that guy at the top of the rotation. He can be a mid-threes ERA guy, but most likely the team will trade Bieber if he's performing well by the deadline. But I still see them most likely making still having a good haul in return for what they could get for him and continuing to have a decent pitching staff. But the offense is so lackluster, I don't see them doing anything.
That's
I
the thing
agree
for
with
me with
you.
them, man.
Honestly, I think their pitching is going to keep them in it, but I don't think that they're going to win them
Yeah.
the division.
It's just like, as you said, so lackluster. Like, you see names like, okay, you have some on base guys, but there's just nothing of pop there. But yeah, as I said with the Tigers, I think you're looking for those guys to take leaps. Now, is it kind of? I do look. I still think the Twins are going to be favorites for Vegas and stuff like that, but I just truly believe that the Tigers, it's been coming for years and years, and we've talked about them for years about,
Mhm.
okay, when are they going to take this division? I do think it's this year. I really do. Again, dependent a lot on their young guys, and I think for me, maybe a team that, like, if they are doing well, adding another arm to the rotation would obviously help. If Casey Mize isn't as good as they want him to be, or maybe if they're just looking to add another elite arm, I think then they can really propel themselves. But
From
I
the
do.
Vegas
I think it's
odds,
their year.
Tyler, to go off of what you were saying, what's interesting about this division is that the top three are relatively close, and that's the
Yeah.
Twins, Guardians, and Tigers. The Twins are the favorite, according to DraftKings, with a minus 115, but then you're relatively close with the Guardians and the Tigers, both at plus 350. And then you
Yeah.
jump down a little bit with the Royals to plus 850. But whether this is funny or not, you have the White Sox who fall to plus 4,000 to win the division.
Yeah.
So you have a tight
Found my
race, but all right, I don't know what he
cut
just
him.
said.
He cut his own self off. Good job.
He dumped himself. I don't know what he was going to say.
I tried to say found my pick is what I tried to say, but I stumbled over the mic, tripped over the wire, if you will.
Womp womp. Anyway,
That is
but
God
yeah, you
speaking.
got when you look at what Vegas has to say, it's really interesting, and I think that's more so than the land of mediocrity, and that's why it's so close. It's not necessarily that it's
Oh yeah.
these are fantastic teams.
Yeah. I just, again, with the Tigers, I think this is their year to take a leap, and yeah, I was unsure with your picks, Will, because I think we align a lot similar, a lot more similar than I think like I align with John with predictions to be honest. And I was thinking, like, okay, I knew you were kind of higher on the Royals, and then I was wondering with the Tigers as well. What was your record with them? You had them at? You said 80.
I have them at 84 and 78.
Okay, so I had them 3 more wins. Obviously,
So I had
one
them
more
at a
divisions, but
respectable leap, and I can see them getting a couple wins more than
yeah,
the Twins dropping. But I guess with the Twins situation is just I just see them staying roughly where they are. I guess if anything, I could have seen them do a little bit better last year than what their record said. They should have been probably a 90-win team, and they were only 87. So they're probably an
yeah,
87-win team this year, and maybe that means they end up being more like 83.
yeah.
I think it's very well that the winner of that division may only have 85 wins.
Well, I was looking
Yeah,
at that
I
too. 'Cause
mean,
I was wondering, like, what's the lowest total win total for a team to win a division, and I want to say it's like 80, might even be in the 70s. But I could see this division like having
Yeah.
like 87 might be pushing it. I'm just saying, I don't know.
I
I
mean,
think
what the
87 is
Cardinals in
pushing it, but
2006 made the
Yeah,
they were like
playoffs with
85
83
wins.
wins.
yeah,
It was something, yeah, something
yeah,
really low, like 85, I think. But when it comes to the Tigers, I could see them definitely being above 500, and definitely being 81 to 85 win team. I said 81 just to put them at that 500 mark, but I don't see them as winning the division. I don't think the Twins are going to fall off that bad.
yeah. I'll the last thing I'll say about the AL Central, and I don't have the exact stat, but the Tigers started really poorly last year, and I think, like, I want to say they started off with, like, the Astros were in like one of their opening series. I think they got the Orioles twice. Um, I think they got the Twins twice. Like, they had a pretty rough schedule to start the year, and it kind of set the
Mhm.
tone. This year, I think they have the A's, the Pirates to lead off. I do think they have the Twins again, and that could be an early, big matchup. But look at the schedule as well. I think if they get off to a good start, they might be able to ride that momentum. The other thing is they need to get better at playing in their division. Again, I'm not sure the exact number. I want to say they went like 7-25 or something against their division last year. Like, that's not going to work if they're going to win it. So there's a lot in play here for the Tigers, but again, in my opinion, I do feel like they will win the AL Central. Let us move on to the NL Central. Another absolute crapshoot for predictions.
I think it's more
I-
so than the AL Central.
honestly, I had a harder time with this division than the AL. Like
Mhm.
the AL, it was really for me. It was between the Twins and the Tigers. With this division, it's like, dude, I really could see it going any way.
Mhm.
Looking at
The
the
only team
standings from
I can
last year,
consider, the only team I
Shut
can
up.
see not
Shut
winning.
up. shut up. uh,
We're gonna have some
Brewers-
fun with this one.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Brewers finished atop the division last year, 92-70. Cubs, 83-79. Reds, 82-80. Pirates, 76-86. And the Cardinals, with obviously what a lot of people believe to be just a very disappointing year for their standards with how good they've been over the last.
Say the least.
Yeah, to say the least. I mean, some people would say that
71 and 91. Holy cow.
Yeah, I mean, I know they had some injuries last year and whatnot, but 71 and 91 is crazy. And like they brought that up at the end too, I'm pretty sure, because I feel like I want to say sometime in August or maybe early September, they were like 10 to 13 games back of the Pirates, and they made the gap 5 in the end. But yeah, let us start with the Brewers, the division winners from last season. A lot of change with this team. Obviously, the big name being Corbin Burns not being there anymore. Still crazy that he left. I really just did not see that coming. He's gone
he was
now.
traded. He didn't leave.
No, I know, but like the fact that he got
Well,
dealt
is he on the
crazy to me.
Brewers? No, then he left.
Exactly. Is he pitching
But
for
wait a
them
minute,
this year?
no, there's a difference here.
No,
There's a big
I get what you're
difference.
I get what you're saying. It's just like I didn't see it coming, and now you're looking at a rotation. Now they re-signed Woodruff, right? We had talked about this, I think,
They
but he won't be
they
back.
re-signed Woodruff, but he
But
won't
he
be
won't be
pitching
back.
this year, most likely.
Okay. I didn't realize if it was. I thought it was like August or something. They were trying to bring him back.
I think for the most part, it's pretty much count him out this year. He'll be back next year.
Okay. Which with that all that information in mind, their starting rotation, which was considered one of the better ones over the past couple of years, like with how good Woodruff was, obviously Burns, it is a shell of itself at this point. Like it really is. Will, I'll start with you with the Brewers. Really interesting team this year.
I am very down on this team. You've lost Craig Counsell. You've lost Corbin Burns. You don't have Woodruff. You potentially now might not have Devin Williams. He has an injury right now with his back, and they're not sure about the severity of it. And the team already is not that great offensively. Never really has been. I, of course, being very biased, I like the addition of Rhys Hoskins. I like Rhys Hoskins because he's a veteran present in the clubhouse with good. He's got known for having great leadership skills. Now has postseason experience with the Phillies 2022 run. He will give the team upper 20s, low 30s in home runs, good on base percentage. But this team is nothing offensively once you get through the top 4. And even then, aside from Hoskins and maybe Adames and like Yelich and Contreras, even Adames for that sense, all 4 of the top 4 seem to have extreme highs and extreme lows. So I could see the team tearing everyone apart through a stretch, and then for another 2-week period, their offense is colder than ice. Like they could just do absolutely nothing, and be kind of like what the Yankees were last year, which was barely nothing once Judge was hurt. And like you said, pitching wise, they had a horrendous. They had a tough top 3 in Woodruff, Burns, and Peralta, and now you have Peralta. John can speak more about DL Hall as an addition and fighting for a rotation spot more than me, but I just do not see this team doing anything. And I could even very well see this team being the Cardinals of 2024 and just absolutely bottoming out.
Okay. you know what? We're kind of on the same wavelength again. Yeah, as you said.
Oh
they
my
go from
gosh,
Bra-
why do we agree?
I
It's
know.
tough stuff.
I know. Look, you said
What
Woodruff.
type of a debate show is this when there's no debate?
I didn't realize we
Well,
were a
God.
debate show. Hold on. If we want to do a
this is
debate show,
prediction.
Here. I got it. The Pirates are gonna have a perfect season and they're gonna win the World Series. Fight me.
Oh, the perfect
John?
season, not just a good season, but a
Yes, a perfect
162 and 0, folks.
First to ever do it. I mean, I am just a true believer in this team. I don't think they're going to lose at all. I mean, we are talking about the Pirates, the Buccos. Man, I mean, they're going to take it home, baby. I'm ready to go.
That take
John,
was
the
so
floor is
hot.
yours.
It knocked Tyler's camera out of focus. That's how hot that was.
It is true. It did not. It was
And he's
knocked
the
out for a
Pirates
second.
fan, and he was out of focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was so
I-
flabbergasted he had to go out of focus for a minute. Oh my
Absolutely
gosh.
concussed.
You guys notice how you're not even going to fight me? You're just going to deflect to talk about something else. You guys know I'm right. You're talking about camera focusing, and here I am saying the Pirates are going to have a perfect season. No one wants to fight
That's
this.
'cause-
They know it's true. I've seen the
That's 'cause
script.
We're not.
All right.
All right, so the Pirates, Shohei Ohtani, and the Dodgers postseason matchup. Is that what I'm hearing here, Bobby?
Oh, absolutely.
That's not that.
that's
You're not
not
hearing
battle
anything.
for
That's
the
what
NL
you
Finals.
know. You
And the
know
Pirates,
deep
they
down
will
in
be
your
favored.
heart of hearts that is where this is going. Don't try to deny it.
Hey,
We're
I
not
don't
about
think-
lies on this
no.
show. I'm speaking pure
don't-
truth.
I don't think if you.
That's
brought
why
back
we stream on
Roberto
Truth Social,
Clemente
because we
from
post the truth.
afterlife, would the Pirates be able to compete?
You
All
lost
right.
me.
Look, all I'll say is the Dodgers are going to be shaking in their boots when they see Marco Gonzalez Game 3. That's all I'll say. I mean, just the best 3 pitcher in the league.
What, game 3?
You want to watch
Yeah.
Ohtani get taken yard
Right.
3 times in a row? Man, that is 1, 2, 3. That top of the Pirates lineup is just taking everyone to
Hey,
church, man.
wait a
Yamamoto's going to want to
I-
go back across the sea.
I know you're being
team
satire
are we
right
on
now.
again?
Do not you can shit on the Pirates pitching. Do not shit on their lineup. You understand me? Okay. We need to get back on track because
Yes,
we
Grandma.
are already way too.
John, your turn
out
on
of
the
this.
Brewers.
Listen, I
John,
did my
John-
job. You guys are going to hear from
Okay, cut
Okay,
himself
okay,
off again.
okay,
That's
okay.
fine. John, talk to me about the Brewers and yeah, give some insight on DL Hall because he's an unknown quantity who's going to need to step up for them.
All right. Well, I'll start with DL Hall on this one. It would probably be easier than getting screamed at by our producer. But DL Hall, you got to look at it.
No one
He
said
was
I was
really-
done.
He was really going to, and by the way, I have the mic right now. I have the floor, so excuse you. He was really going to be settling into a bullpen slot here with the Orioles. He is a starting pitcher by trade. However, he gets really iffy with his control. He can throw 100 miles an hour here, but sometimes he just can't hit the strike zone. When he's off, he's off. So I was sad to see him go because I thought he had all the potential in the world. I really did. But when it comes down to DL Hall, I think that I don't even think the rotation is the best place for him. I think that the bullpen is as a setup guy. But that's just something that they have to contend with. And I almost said what you said not to say. So I caught myself on that one. But when you look at the Brewers, you look at, you got to look at it like this. They are going to drop. They just have nothing to really help them here. They aren't making a lot of moves that are really going to help them. Their rotation is going to hurt them. And I propose maybe this hot take, maybe this question: is it almost time to look at possibly trading Yelich?
But I mean, at
He
this
has a
point
big
in time,
amount of
like,
money on his head, though, doesn't he?
yeah,
Isn't
I was gonna-
$20
He
billion
does,
plus
but
extension?
if like the Yankees say something happens to Soto or Stanton or even Judge, could a team like the
No.
Yankees come looking, come
I'll
knocking.
save the Yankees debate for a different time, but my short answer for the Yankees is I feel like with their additions right now in the offseason, they've actually suited themselves nicely depth-wise in the outfield. So just necessarily because they have an injury to one of their big power guys, I don't think that immediately means they hit the panic button.
I was just using
Yelich-
them as an example because it's a big market
Yelich
team.
Bad
is-
example.
Fine.
Yelich
All right,
is-
the Dodgers. The Dodgers need Yelich. They need
Yeah,
him.
yeah, I
They're
didn't
not gonna
start
win the
this
division
one.
without him.
Dodgers are probably
Yelich-
the one team that would spend stupid money for no reason and get absolutely nowhere
Well,
with it.
Well,
The Dodgers
you're
are
saying
going to
this
need
now.
Yelich. They won't make the
When-
World Series without him.
Listen,
Ohtani's a
I'm
fraud.
I'm not even
You
kidding.
should go to the
Jason
Angels. The
Hayward,
Angels are known for taking on stupid money.
Jason Hayward might not be enough for them. I could literally see Yelich going there. Now he's owed $22 million until he's 37 and 2029. Yeah, I mean he's got a lot of money. But
Boy.
this is a guy that was a MVP candidate at times in his career, and he has really started to
Mhm.
regress. And I think
Didn't he win the MVP?
He lost
did he?
to
I thought he
Bellinger.
won it.
Yeah, it
He
was. I
won
was gonna
Lost to
say
Bellinger.
yeah.
I thought Yelich deserved it over Bellinger, but Bellinger that year had like an insanely hot start. And so I feel like that kind of put him over the edge.
Oh.
Let's see. No, he did win the MVP
Yelich did?
in
What year?
Yeah.
Might have been a different year.
2018.
Was there a different
Yeah,
year
look at
then that
that.
he lost to
History
Bellinger?
novice over
Try
here.
2019.
Oh,
That might be
that
the
was
one I
perfect.
thought of.
20? I don't. It doesn't say. I can go on Baseball Reference real quick.
History expert over here, guys. Don't question my knowledge of the past.
Yeah, this dude loves Yelich so much. That's why he's fighting for him.
I studied Christian Yelich's stats. I know exactly where he's coming from, and you know what? The Brewers are holding him back. That's how we gotta say that one. What?
Shut up. Bellinger won the MVP in 2019. So yeah,
Alright, so I think
Yelich
I'm
was
thinking of
trying to go back
19,
to
right?
back.
What do you mean -1? What do you mean -1? I need the -1.
Look, I do think that the Brewers fall off, and they are also another team that's going to rely on a lot of young talent. And look, if they come through, maybe this is a different story. But of right now, I just am not high on them. We now move to the Cubs. Yes, the Cubs.
Had to select that one, did you?
Well, because
Throw
I
it out
kind
of
of
a hat?
forgot. Like the Cubs were.
You
I don't
forgot they
remember how many-
existed.
No. I was thinking like. I kind of
That they
forgot how
finished
good they
second.
were last year. Yeah, like I mean, they had a sneaky good season last year. I think they're only a couple games out of the wild card, if I'm not
They
mistaken.
were like a
but-
game out of the wild card, I think.
Yeah,
They
Um,
just tanked late was the problem.
yeah, and they're retaining a lot of their talent coming into this year. Now they do lose Stroman, which obviously a pretty big loss. But their rotation still looks decent, and they get back Bellinger, which I think was, as we kind of talked about in one of our previous episodes, I believe it was. I think it's
Tyler-
good for both
Tyler?
teams. Yes.
Tyler, I'm gonna go first on this one. Because as
Okay.
the
Raise your
resident
hand. How many times we got to go through this?
as the resident Cubs expert who predicted that Bellinger was going to stay with the Cubs.
Oh yeah, like nobody
Uh,
else seen that coming.
Nope, nobody else saw it coming. As the resident Cubs expert, I'm going to go out on a limb here. And you know what? I'm going to say that the Cubs win this division.
You
I'm
say
gonna-
the Cubs
I'm
win
gonna-
this division. Okay, you're.
I am
out
going to
here
say
early.
the Cubs win the division. I am out here early. You want to know why I think they're going to win the division? Because
Why?
the NL
You think
Central
everyone else
is a real
sucks?
crapshoot. Yeah, I think everybody else sucks. Is what it
If I had
comes
a
down
dollar
to.
for every time you said
And-
crap or crapshoot, I'd be rich and we could quit this show.
Exactly. I'm gonna go with the Cubs. 87 wins, and let's put it this way: I think Cody Bellinger is going to be the reason why.
Man, I do think Bellinger, if they're going to be good, he needs.
God,
to be good.
I cannot wait for him to bat 210.
Hey, look, put some respect. I mean, I know it's a division rival of the Pirates, but put some respect on his name. He's been slandered enough from LA.
I hope
give
he
him-
wins. I hope he wins MVP, Bobby. I hope he does.
Okay, relax, home slice.
That 0 is staying there for a while. You're going to be at -10 by the time we're doing our postseason wrap up.
Will, what are your thoughts on this team? I mean, they again retain a lot of their talent. Bellinger's still there. Dansby Swanson, obviously. Hap stays. And again, they lose Sherman from their starting rotation, but I don't know if it's all bad. I think their rotation is still pretty good.
I think the biggest thing for this this Cubs team is how the new manager pans out. Because they brought in Craig Counsell, who's brought the Brewers into playoff contention year after year, even though they constantly were strong pitching staffs, not necessarily the best offenses. And they are running with the same group of guys. So I can't help but think back to the Phillies from I guess 2018 through 2018, 2019 or so, where we had Gabe Kapler for a bit, and the Phillies would have strong starts to the season, and then they would drop off at the back end of the season like the Cubs did last year. After a couple years of that, the Phillies brought in Joe Girardi. Joe Girardi had a great reputation for handling bullpens, one of the issues we thought Kapler had. For the most part, after the Phillies did big signings and trades in 2019, we were running with the same guys. It did not work out. The Phillies collapsed again. So that's going to be the question with this Cubs, is they believe they have the young core that can propel them into the postseason, and believe they really arguably should have had it last year. The question is, can Craig Counsell prevent another late season collapse? I don't know what to say in regards of whether they're going to be hot for a lot of the season and class at the end or what, but I do think the Cubs, in a same situation with the division last year, where the division wasn't great beyond the Brewers, maybe the Cardinals, and this year again the division doesn't look great. They're probably around the same win total, which was 83 last year. But in this division, 85 wins might win it for you.
Yeah, honestly, and it's close to 85 is close to what I end up having for this division. Yeah, again, we kind of talk about like Swanson is going to be a big impact player for them, and Bellinger, and I think a lot of that rides on them. Justin Steele is a pitcher for them that kind of came out of nowhere, who's performed really well. Jameson Taillon's back. Missed that guy from his days at the Pirates. So, they have that, and will help me out on this one because my pronunciations on stuff. I can't even say pronunciation right. Shooter? Shada?
I keep saying Shota Imanaga, but I don't know if that's
Shota
right.
Imanaga. That sounds better than what I had. Coming over from the
We're probably
KBO.
all wrong here, and
it's all about confidence, John. Be confident, even if you're wrong.
I said it with absolutely no confidence. Will came in and nailed it. So that's what we're
God, we really have to watch like other MLB shows, man. We got to start listening to other people.
They will
not
Baby,
influence my input. Only Vegas.
Why I had to listen to
be a trendsetter, not a follower, Robert.
Yeah, I will be a trendsetter. Yeah, word to Glorb.
Okay, that's a random pull on a baseball podcast. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting with him if he can be dominant for them, or not even dominant. If he can come in and be what they think he can be, that'll give them a boost. But the Cubs, I think they're another interesting. I really think every team in this division is kind of interesting because, as we said, you don't know with this division. It's just so up in the air. Let's move over to
every team but one.
Yes. Shut up. Let's move over to the Reds. The Reds are young. They're exciting. Man, I couldn't see enough of Ellie De La Cruz last year on Instagram and Twitter and stuff. But
yeah, I know. I mean, seriously.
Having said that, look, he's a great player, but Jesus Christ, guys. He was getting like Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift vibes last year from the MLB. Well, we're the young team, a lot of upside. They surprised last year, finishing 82 and 80. Do we expect to see that again? Do they get better? What is your take on them?
So for a lot of this time coming up with standings, I was all for giving the Reds the benefit of the doubt and making them be the team that takes that extra step and takes a hold of the division. They surprised last year mainly offensively, as they went on that hot run, whatever it was in the middle of the summer, and were in the playoff race for the entire season until last few weeks, I think. They did have a lot of question marks pitching wise, and then I took a deeper dive into this team, and I have to say, I'm gonna say last year was a fluke. I see them taking
Well,
not a major step back.
We can't keep doing this. We can't keep doing this.
God damn it! You're agreeing with me. All right. Well, then here's my hot take. Ellie De La Cruz will have a Javier Baez-like year. He's going to take a step back and not shine like he did a little bit last year. And if you look at the numbers, he really did not perform that great. He had a really good start to his career last year, and for like a month when he got the cycle, he was hitting the ball like 110 plus miles per hour. Like he was the next like 5-tool player that did everything. It was going to be a stud. His season finished and he batted .235 with 13 home runs, 44 RBIs, a 710 OPS, and 89 OPS plus, which means he was roughly 11% under league average in the end. I see him being kind of like Javier Baez. He walked 35 times, struck out 144 times in 427 plate appearances. I see that being a big thing for him this year is he's going to strike out a lot while still having that low batting average. And sure, he may hit 20 home runs, steal 40 bases, but in the end with this Reds team and being arguably now the it guy, it's going to help bring them down. I'm also not the biggest fan of Hunter Green. I don't think he's proven himself yet. And yes, they just signed him to a big extension, but none of those young guys have necessarily taken the extra step yet. A lot of the ERAs last year were in the mid to upper fours, and Frankie Montas as being a potential front of the rotation guy and today named the opening day starter. I don't think that's the guy you want to bring to your club when you want to take the extra jump. Someone like Jordan Montgomery would have been much better. So I think this Reds team had a great jump last year. They're going to kind of hold steady, maybe even a slight step back this year.
I'm laughing because there's a chance that our order is the same, and there's also a chance our win totals might be the same. This is fantastic.
I will walk off the set.
This is the first season in the post Joey Votto era for the Reds, and I'm curious how that leadership is going to be affected. Hey, Bobby, why are you on the screen?
We've lost the producer.
We don't want to see that ugly
the guy
mug.
who's talking. Mr. Producer!
Hello! Producer losing his cool is the new
Mr. Producer!
He can't show that on YouTube.
Oh my god.
It's hilarious.
Hey, look, Will's face is red. He's picking the Reds.
Goodness gracious, boys. John, sorry, did you have something to say about the Reds? I don't even remember now.
I agree in that sense with Will. I honestly, you know what the thing is with Ellie De La Cruz? I feel like the thing is just he's fast and like he's I feel like that's his biggest thing. He can really. All right. Anyway, Ellie De La Cruz, I think he's overrated. That's just where it comes down to it, and I do think.
You gotta stop typing this because you're literally stalling John. It happens every time. You check him. You absolutely check him. There's no coming back. He can't multitask.
Stop.
He can't think. He can't think. John, I'm gonna take over for you. I think
Thank you.
Calling Ellie De La Cruz overrated is a stretch. He is a freak athlete. He's fast. He hits the ball hard. His numbers weren't great toward the end of the year, but it was his first year, and how old is he? Like 20?
Sophomore slump coming, baby.
Oh yeah. I
mean, possibly, but
I think that's going to be a big factor here.
It's again possible. He is entering his age. Shut up, Bobby. Nobody likes you. He's 22 years old. He was born in 2002, and he's 6'7", and he runs like a 3.440. Yeah, you heard me. 3.440. Unbelievable. Yeah, I think
Oh, well.
another team that is so dependent on, their young talent. Like, you look at the roster. So this year, the projected roster: Matt McCain, Ellie De La Cruz, Spencer Steer, Encarnacion Strand, Hunter Green is in the rotation, Nick Lodolo. Like, these guys are just so young, and in Will's sense, I kind of see them potentially taking a step back because they had a lot of guys that broke out. Another thing I want to ask you about, Will, is this has kind of been big news.
Noel V. Marte.
Noel V. Marte.
welcome.
I know how to say it, and I couldn't. Yes. He gets suspended 80 games.
Do ya?
This is a guy, producer, I'm literally going to cut you. Like, I'm not even kidding. He gets suspended 80 games, and that's a big loss for them because they expected him to be on the team to start the year. So what impact does that have on them?
I mean, I don't feel like it's going to have as big of an impact as people may initially think. I mean, sure, you're taking a young guy with a lot of promise, and he's going to be sidelined now for half of the season because of the suspension. And he looked great in his small sample size last year. This probably, if anything, just means Jonathan India gets more playing time. Because he was kind of on the bubble as whether or not he was going to be with this team, traded, platoon. So I see an infield most likely now of Christian Encarnacion Strand at first, Jonathan India at second. Was it Heimer Candelario at third?
Yep.
Instead of DH, and now Matt McClain or Ellie De La Cruz at short. Because McClain can play second, short, maybe third. I don't feel like it has that big of a difference. It just kind of narrowed down from having a plethora of options potentially in the infield to just, well, this is kind of what we're going with.
I mean, the Reds, the thing about them is they had a lot of great production from rookies and young players last year, which, not to say that can't happen again, but like some of their numbers were like almost a little bit unbelievable in the sense that like it has to come down. Like, it cannot continue to be this good. So I think, the Reds will be an interesting team. All right, let's do it. Let's move on to the Pirates. Let's get this over with. I guess I'll start
I'm
as
talking
the Pirates
last.
fan. I'll talk as the Pirates fan. I love the lineup. The pitching rotation scares me, and I think that's going to be our downfall, to be honest. Like, Mitch Keller, he gets the deal, and he was so good in the first half last year. Really cooled down in the second half. I still think he can be our ace. Martin Perez comes over, who's been really good on the teams he's been on, most recently with the Rangers. Then you got Marco Gonzalez. And then like 4 and 5 is kind of a mixed mosh because I think Quinn Priester has a chance to make the team again and play, but you're also looking at guys like Jared Jones. Will he come up and make his debut? Luis Ortiz will most definitely probably be their 5. I think they're going to have Roansy Contreras in the pen this year, but like, he was a guy for a while that they thought could be a star for them. And then, of course, can't not mention Paul Skeens. Now, they've already said he's starting in the minors, and to be honest, I don't see him. It would be pretty hard pressed for me to see him come up onto the team prior to like September, just because I think like they've kind of already talked. Well, not that they've talked about it, but it's kind of been assumed like they want the windows with arbitration and stuff and eligibility. Like, they want to kind of save him for as long as they can. The thing is, I legitimately think he's probably the third best pitcher in their organization. So it's kind of tough on that front. But again, I really like the lineup. You got Anil Cruz coming back after the injury. I think just like 9 games into the season last year. Kutcher's back. Really happy about it. Ke'Bryan Hayes was very, very good last year. Offensively and, of course, defensively as well. And I think if he can continue to build on that last year, I think he can be better. Brian Reynolds, a star. And then you got some question marks, obviously, throughout the rest of the lineup. Jack Sawinski, I really like. One of those names in baseball I feel like doesn't get as enough recognition for how good like his advanced metrics are and stuff. Henry Davis, it looks like he'll finally be playing catcher this year, with last year playing right field. And that kind of comes off the back of ND being out for the season, which is a big loss. And then Rowdy Tellez at first. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, still a lot of question marks with my Pirates. I would hope that they can improve on last year, and we'll see if they can. But now for the negative talk about the Pirates, here's John.
Honestly, I'm surprised you didn't bring this guy up, which is David Bednar. Like, he's
great.
Strikeouts per 9 innings is really impressive. And then also what really strikes me is his left on base percentage is in the 70 percentage. I mean, I think he's going to be one of your best pitchers, if not your best pitcher this season. So when you look at what the Pirates are offering here, I don't think that they're going to win the division. However, I also don't think they're going to be as bad as everyone thinks. I could see them. I don't see them in last. I really don't. I see them really shocking me. I see them shocking everyone, and I think they could be like a third place team. And I think they're making progress in the right direction with young talent. You just gotta make the right moves, essentially.
Quick point before I let Will speak. So it's the starting rotation that I have a problem with. Bednar will be great in the back end as our closer, and the Pirates bullpen was one of the better bullpens in baseball last year. Unfortunately, I just found out before this episode, because I didn't see this in the news. Haven't had access to Pirates spring training games. Moretta has an injury that they're suspecting is major on his elbow, I believe. And he was one of our best relievers last year. So that hurts a lot. But I think regardless, I think the bullpen is still going to be, if they can be like around what they were last year, I do think it gives them a pretty good chance. They add Aroldis Chapman, which that's an interesting add. But yeah, I think they had a lot of guys last year that stepped up as kind of no names and became really good bullpen arms. And I think the Pirates' success, a lot of it is going to be on how good their bullpen is and if their top 5 in the lineup can really produce. But with that being said, I will now go to Will, who I'm interested in this one.
Good. I'm going to keep it nice, bland, and vague for you. You get to see my real reactions when you get my predictions. But to keep it nice and short and sweet, I like the offense a lot. I do think that looking 1 through 8, while there is some uncertainty with some of the young players, I still find it to be very intimidating, especially as a young team that is progressing nicely with that nice jump they had last year, even though, yes, they had the hot start and then they cooled off a lot. I do like the bullpen a lot, and pitching wise with the rotation, yes, there are a bunch of mainly 3, 4, and 5 pitchers. They don't have the one guy to lead the rotation, but that being said, I do see each of these pitchers as guys that can at least hold their own for a full season, even if it's a mid to upper 4s ERA. Keller had a nice step last year, and then I think he struggled a bit late, so his ERA jumped up because of it. So if the Pirates really do want to make the extra jump, then one thing will be is to make Skeens come up partway through the season as a midsummer move. Maybe if the Pirates are holding on a little longer than they did last year and they decide, you know what, with this division, we're going to see if Skeens can help bring us to the postseason, or if the team's willing to make a decent enough trade at the trade deadline with this division, I could definitely see a potential see them jumping over some teams and being in the playoff hunt.
It's funny, actually, looking at the stats now for their bullpen. Like, they're not as glamorous as they probably were through June or July because they really fell off in the back half. Don't laugh.
Mhm.
I just found it funny.
No, look, because
2 minutes ago, their bullpen's the best thing about them. It's amazing.
I do think like
they're the best
because
bullpen in baseball. 2 minutes later, actually, they sucked.
no, like to be honest though, like,
that wasn't the S word.
take the last two, and I know it's hard to do this, but like they were out of the contention in the last 2 months, so things started to really fall off. They finished about average. Like I think if you combine anything together, they're probably like kind of league average with their bullpen. But prior to that, they were like a top 10 bullpen. Like they were really good. And then I got obviously the wheels fell off, is what I'm trying to say. But yes,
Train was derailed.
Kinda,
the wheels fell off. Whatever you want.
yes,
to say.
anything. All right, let's get to the Cardinals before we do
Our pets' heads are falling.
And get out of here.
Yeah, stop cutting yourself off, Bobby. Finish your jokes, for Christ's sake.
The Cardinals, as we said, 71-91 last season. Not good, to say the least. A lot
Not
of
their
people,
standard.
though, correct. A lot of people, though, predicting a bounce back, and I can see why they add some nice pieces in the offseason. One of them being Sonny Gray, who we did talk about. I mean, their whole starting pitching staff is revamped. They get Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn as well. And then they add Brandon Crawford, which I don't know why this is going to be the case, but like out of all the players that moved this offseason, I feel like seeing him not in a Giants jersey is going to be very strange. And Matt Carpenter also comes back as well. But I mean, Will, like this team, again, so underachieving last year with some injuries, but their pitching staff at this point in time looks like one of the better ones, or at least a top half starting rotation in the league. Where do you see them this year?
Well, their pitching sucked last year, so it's not hard to be better than that. One thing to point out with their rotation, they have 3 of the top 5 leaders in hits allowed last year in Miles Michaelis, Lance Lynn, and Kyle Gibson. Gibson, John knows this with the Orioles last year. I know it from Gibson being on the Phillies the year and a half prior. Gibson can have really high highs and really low lows. He could go through stretches where he pitches 6, 7, 8 innings, gives up 1 or 2 runs. Looks like he's the ace of your club. Then he'll have outings where for a month or so he'll pitch 2, 3 innings and give up 5 runs, which is his ERA for the year may end up in the mid to upper 4s, but it's a wide range of what you can get. Lance Lynn took a really big step back last year. Now, is that because he was on the White Sox and things weren't necessarily the greatest at that organization? Sure, he got traded partway through the season to the Dodgers, but he still gave up like 40-plus home runs a year, like an absolutely absurd number. And Sonny Gray, while he is hurt right now with hamstring soreness, last I saw, they do think it's not really going to sideline him much. So he'll probably be fine, either if not by the start of the season, within a spot or two through the rotation. He will be a nice adjustment, but this team and the pitching staff looks like they're really built on having pitchers that can give them length. Sure, they want their pitchers to obviously not blow it out of the water, take them out after 7 innings, they get 5 runs. But I'd say regardless of whether these pitchers are consistent this season and can do 2, 3 runs an outing, they will probably consistently give them 5+ innings. And nowadays in baseball, with a lot of pitchers being taken out 2 times through an order or whatnot, having pitchers that can give you length is a luxury that not too many teams take advantage of. So I do like that with the Cardinals, but I'm not in love with their pitching rotation. And offensively, they are basically banking on Goldschmidt and Arenado not having down years like they did last year. They were riding on them a lot. It did not pan out. If both hitters kind of have similar numbers what they did last year, then it looks like they may have be past their prime for good. And then you really got to start to question about the strength of that lineup, especially because right now they have injuries to Tommy Edman and Lars Nootbaar entering the season, forcing them to put Dylan Carlson in the outfield, who is good defensively, but is a interesting case offensively. And they still have Jordan Walker in right field, who's really not a right fielder. He's a third baseman. So the Cardinals are really, really fell off the face of the earth last year. Will they do better? Most likely. but I'm not sold that this is going to be a complete bounce back year from them.
Well, I think, as you said, a lot of it is going to depend on their two big horses in Arenado and Goldschmidt. Like, you got kind of two ends of the spectrum with them because you had Goldschmidt the year before just tearing the cover off the baseball, and then last year really having a down year. I mean, this is a team with like high prospects in their lineup too. Like, I love Nolan Gorman. I think he's going to get better. Jordan Walker, obviously top prospect. He'll be in the lineup and making probably big strides for them. Mason Wynn at shortstop. And as you said, I mean, Dylan Carlson in the outfield like is not ideal, but also not the worst case scenario for them. Like, that's the one thing about them too, is I think they have decent depth. Like, you're going to have a few guys on the bench that really could be competing for the starting lineup as well. And their bullpen, while the names aren't like crazy great and like, oh, you don't have names that blow you away, they have a really nice closure. Gallegos is still there, so I do think this team gets better, and I really think that relies on their pitching. But again, can't really get worse than they were last year. John, we'll go to you for our last part of this. What are your thoughts on the 2024 Cardinals?
I think that there could be a bounce back just because obviously 71-91 is not their standard. But when you look at the Cardinals, I think that Arenado trade is not panning out like how they would hope. So I do think you got to look at the bigger picture here. I don't think the Cardinals are going to be the diamond that they usually are in that division. I think they could really be just a 500 team.
It's hard to imagine that they're going to be. I mean, I don't think they're going to be that bad that like they were last year, but it's hard to imagine them being like under 500 because for so long they've been so good. We'll end up seeing, but let's get into our predictions for this one. John, we'll start off with you again. How nice am I? How about that? We'll start off with you. What are your predictions for the NL?
Yeah, I finally get to speak. Anyway, no, but it's going to it. The Cardinals right now are the favorites to win this division from all the projections and then also from Vegas. But I just think that that's a team that really needs to get younger, not keep aging like they are. And I just think that overall, the Cardinals, I don't think are really going to be great. So I have them finishing second. Obviously, I have the Cubs, like I stated, winning the division. I have them winning the division only at like 85 wins. It's not going to be something astronomical, but I think that the Cardinals will be a 500 team at second place. The Reds just below that with like 77 to 79 wins at the most. I actually have the Pirates finishing fourth with low 70s of like 74, 75. And then I have the Brewers really falling off the map here with low 70s to mid 70s of the 70 to 73 wins here. I just don't. I am not high on the Brewers, and I think that getting rid of their winningest manager of all time was a big mistake. And I do think that the Cubs will make the playoffs because of that. So, yeah.
Per DraftKings, by the way, I don't think we said this already. The odds for the winning the division is kind of funny because you have the Cardinals.
Oh, it's even closer than the AL Central.
Yeah, well, you have the Cardinals and Cubs are tied at plus 180. Reds are plus 350. Brewers plus 170. But even like the Pirates in fourth place are plus 1600, which obviously not great odds to win, but like that's
close.
A fifth place team. That's a fifth place team. Will, I'll go to you next. This is going to be hilarious. Let's hear your predictions.
All right. Well, John discouraged me because I thought I'd have a hot take that is clearly not a hot take between us anymore, but we'll see how things go. But I am going to agree with John to start things off. I have the Cubs winning the division with 85 wins. And then now to really drop your jaw, I have the Pirates finishing second at 82 wins, taking over a lackluster division and being truly just one piece away from making it back to the playoffs and potentially even taking over the Cubs. At third,
Wow.
I have the Cardinals at 81 and 81, getting back to 500. Then fourth, I have the Reds with 79 wins, and in fifth, the Brewers with 77 wins. And in the end, only an 8-game difference separates first from last.
Wow.
Well, Will, I'll agree with you on one thing. I think we all were like, oh, the Brewers in fifth place. That's a hot take. Well, we all have the Brewers in fifth place because I also have
God
them
damn
in
it.
last in the division. I have.
In
Oh.
other words, they were idiots letting go of their manager and clearing house.
No, I just feel
That's
like
a lot of stuff.
it's just and if Woodruff is out, like if Woodruff was to come back even like in August, I might give them a better chance. But if he's out truly for the rest of the year, that hurts a lot. I have them at 75 and 87. I then have the Reds stepping back 6 games. I have them at 76 and 86. I think there is potential for the Reds to continue to get better over the years. I do think that, as I said, some of those numbers last year for their rookies coming up were like so blown out of, not blown out of proportion, but like they were kind of maybe not sustainable for the next year, that I have them dropping a few games. I then have my Buccos in third place at an even 81 and 81. Such a modest prediction from the Pirates fan
So
here
I'm
about
not
my
that
team.
far off from you.
No, you're not. The Pirates, again, I think their lineup, I do really like it, and if we can stay healthy this year, obviously it's huge. I mean, we lost O'Neal Cruz so early in the season; it was devastating. And you kind of look at how they started the year last year. I mean, the Pirates were like the second best team in baseball for, I think probably through like April. Yeah, it was kind of crazy. Now, do I expect that again? No, but I don't expect them to be as bad as they were in the second half last year as they are going to be this year. I then have the Cubs in second place at 84 and 78. This was a toss up for me. I really do like the Cubs roster. They were actually a team last year that I had projected to win the division. I really like the Cubs coming into last year. Obviously, it didn't happen, but I mean, they finished again only a couple spots out of the playoffs. And then in first place, I do have the Cardinals bouncing back. I actually have them finishing with 88 wins. I have them going 88 and 74, winning the division. I think last year was worst case scenario for them. I love the additions that they made to their starting rotation. Like even having like a Steven Matz at a 5 is crazy. Like, I mean, as their 5th starter, obviously not the name he once was, but like just kind of comparing the quality that they have, and Mikolas comes back as well. So
Michaelis, get your
Michaelis.
facts
I
straight,
know
Tyler.
I knew I said it wrong the first time, and then I thought I said it wrong the second time, and I was right. Michaelis, yes. Again, I just see this team bouncing back in a big way, and I do have them winning. Now, only 88 wins, but a little bit higher than you guys had. What, 85? You said to win this division, so we'll see. I mean, still between first and 5th place, I still only have 13 wins between them, so it is going to be close. I think, no matter how you look at it. But that is episode 8. That is our NL and AL Central predictions. I think had a little bit more controversy than we did in our first predictions. I can't believe I didn't get more flack for that Tiger. I really thought John was going to rip me a new one with that Tigers winning the
John's
Central.
too nice.
Like he talks about, Oh, I also thought you were gonna have like I also thought you were gonna have like the Pirates going like 60 and whatever the way you were talking.
All
And
this
then you're
setup
like,
he's been
I
leading us
actually have
into,
them in third,
and then leveling out.
and we all have the Brewers on last.
Wait till we put the
They're a
Orioles
young
in
team.
last place in our prediction to get the fire going.
Yeah, you know what? I might just do that on purpose, just because these first 2 episodes not as fiery as I'd like.
What do you want from
That
me?
is off.
What do you want?
Look, I
I want you to fight for what you believe.
I really
God,
Fight for
fight
Emily.
back, John. Fight back.
I really thought you were gonna have the Pirates in last place by like 20 games. The way you were talking. That is all for us though. Here,
It could happen.
it could. It very much could. Again, the crapshoot of the NL Central. Follow us on Twitter at BL_breakdowns. Excuse me, and we will be having our NL and AL East predictions coming up here probably hopefully next week. We'll see when we can get available, but that should be interesting because you're looking at probably up there with the top two divisions in baseball. So that should be a really good episode. Make sure to check us out at our socials that you see on the screen right here. But that is all for us at Big League Breakdowns. We will see you next time for episode 9.